Hello everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. Sorry for the delay. We had like some technical difficulties, and but thank you for being here for the challenge number one. And yeah, without further ado, I just hand over to the presenter Malihi. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Leonard. Good afternoon, good time of day to all of you, and thank you for having me back. Today I'm not alone. I'll be joined by my colleague Shimona, who will join me briefly. So before we go straight into the Q&A, Leonard, I'll just share my slide quickly, just to share something very quick for the challenge. Let me just do that now. And then you let me know. Can you see it? Okay, perfect.
Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so the challenge that we've given you is about a fictional state, which is Mini-Garou. You have read about its characteristics, but then there's also a specific norm that the challenge requires you to look into, and this is the norm that states should respond to appropriate requests for assistance by another state whose critical infrastructure is subject to malicious ICT acts. And as a result of this, I just wanted to highlight 5 things that we would like you to also think about as you go through the challenge, which are part of what we understand to be important elements of capacity building. And so, these are some of the things that we'll be looking at when we consider the challenge. And the first one is, how will your intervention be addressing policies and regulations? And so we'll be looking to see if that legislation is something that you've also included as part of your assessment or your proposed intervention, but also partnerships and networks. At the international level, countries can have bilateral, regional, and multilateral instruments, but there's also a special role for non-state actors, which are often the critical infrastructure owners, operators, and vendors. And so that's also an important element to think about, but also structure and processes. Capacity building interventions should also be looking to see exactly how in this norm, the setting up mechanisms for receiving requests, processing, evaluating, responding. And so that would fall under that, but also technology. Is it possible that there could be specific technologies that could also be used to aid in this regard? And last but not least, do not forget the people and the skills, who are also a very important part of the capacity building cycle. And then the second important thing that we have sprinkled around the challenge is gender, which is something that we'd also like you to consider. And for that, I'll be joined by my colleague Shimona. And Leonard, have you been able? Okay. And now I'll hand over to Shimona, who can then just take you through what we think the problem is when it comes to gender and cybersecurity, and what the solution is, because we want you to also think about this as you think through the challenge. Shimona, over to you.
Thank you so much, Madihi, and thank you everybody for joining. I hope I'm coming across. I hope you can hear me and see me well. Okay, perfect. So when we were thinking about this challenge, as Madihi mentioned, we also thought that it might be a good idea to perhaps bring in the gender perspective, because that's something that's usually overlooked when we talk about cybersecurity. So just to very briefly go through what this might entail. As many of you might know, in terms of the problems, there's a huge gender digital divide that exists, which means that much fewer women than men are digitally literate or online. Recent statistics put this at about 65% of women online versus 70% of men. When we see it in terms of proportion, it doesn't seem very stark, but this 5% difference accounts for about 244 million less women online as compared to men, which is quite a significant number when we think about it in absolute terms. But apart from just being able to use technologies, even in tech workplaces, women make up only about 1/4 of the global cyber workforce, which means that a lot of these technologies are also being created in environments which are not gender sensitive. And then in terms of the technology itself, we've seen, especially through UNIDIR's research as well, that much of cyber technology does not actually take gendered threats and threat modeling into account. For example, things that can be used as stalkerware, but are not threat modeled for that purpose. This list of problems is endless. I've only jotted down 3 for you to consider. And likewise, there's only 3 solutions that are on the list, while the list of solutions is also quite large. But I think the one thing that we could start off with is educating, hiring, retaining, and promoting more women in STEM. Employing more of a gender threat modeling, which can also include gender responsive standards, monitoring and evaluation on the basis of gender, etc. And also, of course, encouraging cyber professionals to engage with gender analysis, gender sensitive training, and gender responsive cyber capacity building. So if any of these seem to be elements that you can use within your responses through this challenge, I would highly, highly encourage you to do so. And with that, back over to Marie.
Thank you so much, Shimona. And so those are the 2 things that we really wanted to highlight for the challenge. As part of the challenge, you also received the survey, and that will be an important aid as well as you go through the challenge to understand what the state has marked as a competence and where they are lacking, but also importantly, why they are lacking certain things. In some areas, they would have said it's because of a lack of coordination. In some cases, it might be lack of political will or lack of access to technology. Those are also things that are important to consider in this. And then I think lastly, as a capacity building provider, you can either be a private entity or a national entity, thus being another country. And so that would also have to be clear which of the 2 you would be providing capacity as. And then we will be looking, like I said, at whether you have taken into consideration the gender issues, but also if you've used the survey inputs properly to support your intervention, but also broader awareness of the framework of responsible state behavior, on which I briefed and will be sharing additional resources, but also general good practice around incident handling, especially when it comes to international cooperation and cooperation with non-state entities such as the private sector or industry. And with that, I will now hand over back to you, Leonard, and we will take questions.
Thank you so much, Marie and Shimona, for your explanations. And yeah, so now the floor is open for you students. So please, yeah, just feel free to raise any questions that you might be having. So that's the reason why we're having this Q&A, to give you time to think about what's still unclear, and then just yeah, put it forward. You can either put it into the Q&A session, or perhaps for this session, even better to just briefly raise your hand. I think that might be a bit quicker, actually. Thank you in advance. We have one that is asking whether there are any platforms, whether any platforms mean for women to progress in the tech world.
Thank you for the question. I'm assuming I'll try and take a stab at answering that. But I think there's quite a few platforms. I think it depends on what you mean by platforms. There are quite a few capacity building programs, for example, for different stakeholders, whether it's more tech-oriented stakeholders or more policy-oriented stakeholders, as it happens within mine and Moriegi's world around disarmament. And then we are also now exploring quite a few capacity building opportunities, which might have an interplay between both of these. I think the main problem between capacity building when it comes to like women professionals in particular, but also in general, is the fact that tech audiences and policy audiences aren't really talking to each other. So I think that's definitely one of the things that a lot of capacity building programs are now trying to bridge the gap on.
Okay, thank you for that. Do we have more questions? Yeah, then maybe just like probably this is clear for everyone, but like just to remind you, so you students, you have your videos please should be only below 3 minutes. So every video that is like above 3 minutes will not be considered. So that is like just something I feel is important for you to just keep in mind. So no videos over 3 minutes, please. And then you have 24 hours to collect views and likes, which will then determine the eventual winner. So that's like just something for me that's important that you keep in mind, that you don't have more than 3 minutes. So just try to restrict yourself a bit there. Okay, I don't know to what extent this is related to the game later, but like yeah, one student is asking about some skills that are required to pivot career in this space or in this policy domain.
I'll give it to Shimona.
Thank you. I'm not sure if I can accurately respond to this, but I'll try. I assume if you are thinking about pivoting, you're already in a tech career, and this is specifically to pivot to cyber policy. So that's the assumption that I'm working on. Please let me know if this is not the case. But I think it's super required for tech professionals to also be involved in the policy space. For instance, there's quite a few companies, for example, Microsoft, that UNIDIR works with, who actually have tech representatives who come and join policy conversations here at the UN office in Geneva. And they kind of bridge the gap between the tech and policy audiences by coming from a tech background, but realizing more in policy spaces. So there's definitely a few of those. It's always good to remain involved with the latest reading and writing that's happening in your space, research that's happening in the space around cyber, especially cyber policy if you're interested, and perhaps reaching out to the people who are involved in that cyber policy related landscape, who can guide you then to further resources, further contacts, further networks, people, events, etc., where you might have a chance to kind of hone that interest. And we're always, as policy audiences, in need of technical experts to join us when we discuss cyber policies. So I'm sure at some point there will be somebody who has need for you and can reach out to you if you're visible in these platforms.
Okay, then I have a question from Sansa. Just put her hand down. I don't know whether they are still relevant. I just unmute you briefly. Okay, you can wait 1 second. Okay, Sansa, I think you can ask your question now. Sansa Kazi. I don't know whether that was an issue with the mic, but we have another question coming up. Yeah, could one of you like briefly just outline the challenge again, because someone apparently came in a little bit late. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. So in this challenge, you are supposed to act as a capacity building provider for a state that requires capacity development on how to respond to requests from other countries that are experiencing malicious ICT incidents. But also to help them process their own requests in the case that they are under a malicious ICT incident. So in cyber lexicon, how should they handle that incident and how should they ask for assistance? So the premise is that this country does not have a lot of internal or national capacity. And so you have to come up with a plan to help them. And what we started with was just the 5 elements that you should consider when you design your capacity building intervention, which is around legislation, looking at processes, looking at the human capacity or the people and skills, but also the technological element. So are there technologies that you would recommend that they get? Are there specific ways in which you think that existing personnel component should be upskilled? Are there processes that you would encourage that they put in place, such as incident handling, but also how to receive request assistance, including checklists? All of that would then be part of what your proposed intervention would be, of course, in keeping with the guidelines of 3 minutes. So what we also highlighted was that it's also important to include a gendered lens when you look at this challenge, because you'll see in the challenge that we've specifically highlighted the demographic of the country's personnel disproportionately male. And so as part of addressing this challenge, also consider the gender elements as you design your intervention. And so that is the idea, that you would give us ideas based on what you share on how a country like this could be assisted in just this one area.
Okay, thank you so much for just briefly going through this. Again, I'm just having a look at the chat. Okay, someone is writing something, so just waiting for the question there. Demi, I unmuted you, so if you want to post your question, you can go ahead. For the people that just coming now, I would say that you please just have a look at the challenge yourself briefly, because we have been explaining it twice or three times already. And if you then have questions, maybe be more specific, so that we have like less that we can focus more on specific issues and less time on generic questions regarding the challenges. Thank you. Okay, I don't know to what extent this is also related to the challenge again, but the question was, what skills or experiences do you consider essential for starting a career in cybersecurity, and what would you do differently if you were to start over again? I don't know, whom of you would like to have that question or would like to answer that?
I think it depends on where you're starting. I didn't start in cybersecurity. I started at the foreign ministry, so doing foreign policy, and cyber policy was just one of the many files that we dealt with in the disarmament area, as well as then the cybercrime part in the transnational organized crime. So I think in terms of skills for cyber policy, like Shimona said, you must be interested in policy processes and the outcomes of policy processes, interested in following global developments, regional, national developments on policy specifically, but also probably interested in the technical parts of cybersecurity, even if it's just to be able to translate to other stakeholders. But I think regardless, really, if you're part of this, it means you are interested. And since you've got this specific challenge, which is a policy challenge that asks you to take the knowledge that you have about technical cybersecurity incident handling and apply it in a policy space, then I think you are already starting at a good place. And it's just about figuring out what you don't feel you have enough skill in and then upskilling that. If it's policy, then you can take some policy upskilling. If it's disarmament more broadly, then you do that. Or if it's on the technical side, like we sometimes have to do the technical stuff around AI, quantum, everything new that cross-cuts with cyber and policy. And so we would do that. And so I think it's just a matter of then figuring out what you need more of and upskilling in that. And there are many resources for that, including some of which UNIDIR has with ODA. And I'll share the link to the cyber diplomacy course that we've designed with the Office for Disarmament. Thanks, Leonard.
No problem. Of course. Okay. Another thing that is perhaps important to know is, apart from the time of the video, is just that you have until like November the 5th at noon. It's all like in the study guide, but that's like the deadline for you to hand in the videos. So that is also like an important time slot to be aware of. Regarding the topic, I mean, you like, so this session concerns only those that have chosen the first challenge, by UNIDIR. So if you have like a different challenge, then just go to the appropriate lecture that is like either next to that. Like we have like another lecture currently on the second challenge. So if you're there, just please go there. You should have the link. And are there any topic specific guidelines that the students need to follow? Apart from that, I'm not aware, at least. Okay. So I mean, like you're free to in the way you do the videos, you're free to do whatever you think are best according to the guidelines, of course. And if you have a different, just the only thing to make sure is that you have like selected the right challenge. So this is challenge number 1. So if you have chosen a different challenge, this might not be relevant for you this session. Okay, I'm probably relating less to the challenge, but what technical knowledge or like soft skills important for cybersecurity learners. I don't know whom of you two would like to answer that question.
Sorry, could you repeat the question once more, Leonard?
Sorry, just repeat that.
Could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, sure, of course. It's probably not related to the game that we are having, but some learners just asking whether what technical knowledge or soft skills are important for cybersecurity learners, probably to the work that you do at UNIDIR.
I can think about it, but I would pass it over to Maria afterwards, I think, because like Maria, I also don't come from a technical background. My background is also in international relations, and I work on tech policy more broadly, mostly AI, but also including cyber. So I can speak to the soft skills. I'm not sure if I can speak authoritatively on the tech section of this, but I think it's important to make sure that you are constantly reading and are up to date about new things that are happening around cybersecurity. As I think we all know, cyber and AI are moving at super fast speeds today, and it's everything that you know about cyber could change the next week. So it's important to stay abreast of the latest information and developments. I think that's the most primary thing to take care of. And then, of course, making sure that you have people on your LinkedIn or within your professional networks that can also guide you when it comes to cybersecurity, not only from a technical perspective, but also perhaps a legal one or a policy one or an ethical one to make sure that you're covering quite a bit of ground when it comes to cyber education, I guess. And then, of course, it's also important to make sure that you that all the cyber work that you're doing in the technical space also flows back into the channels around cyber policy. So if there's something particularly interesting that happens in the technical space in your organization, it's great to let your network know that there's new development so that they can also kind of keep in touch with you over new developments that are happening in the technical space that you're in. And I think the kind of cascading effects of networks here really plays to your advantage. So use that to the best of your abilities as much as you can. But over to Maria, if you have anything additional as well.
Yeah, yes, I think everything that Shimona has said, but I think in addition to that, what I also do is also to also always keep an eye on what is happening within my specific region. So for instance, I'm from South Africa, and so I also like to see how developments are from that region. And then I can also then compare that to global developments more broadly. And so my network then comprises of people who are just focused on cyber and tech-related issues just in Africa, all the way to people who are doing global policy. But again, it's the interests that you have that will really almost channel you, because it's also a really broad field. It's not possible to do everything at the same time. And so you decide what is of interest to you now, and then you can slowly add to that as you go. But it's always a good place to start to see what is happening around you and how that is either a translation of what's happening at the global level or how what's happening around you is making it into mainstream discussions at the global level.
Just relating to one of the students is asking whether you work on the challenge as solo. And the thing is, so for this, like the yeah, like for the challenge that you have selected, you work on it in a group. So how you really do that within the group and how you structure that is like supposed to, that is something that you can freely determine. But and also how are you, yeah, so that is like something that you freely determine. I think you should be aware of the people that are in your group. I will just briefly check that how you can access that, but there should be a way for you to know. But I will just get some more information on that in a bit, and then I come back to you. Apart from that, are there, yeah, the floor is still open for further questions. One question is about for the challenge, whether someone is asking which laws should be used to present their stance. If you can say something on that. Like for mini Garus, the students asking which laws, yeah, they can use to present their stance.
So if you open the survey, you will see what laws Minigaru says it has. And based on that, then you can start thinking about what they don't have, which in your view, you think would be helpful for them to be able to develop whatever you will be proposing they do for this particular challenge. So and that will be enough. So you don't have to add anything else, but just look at what they say they do have in terms of laws, and then you can move from there. And again, because you are the provider of the capacity building that they have asked for, you can make suggestions of what you think is missing. But nothing else is needed to add to what is already in the survey.
Okay, just something about the groups. So because that is apparently something that is a bit causing confusion. So you like the groups. So you all of the groups are doing solely one video together. The collaboration between you guys, you just share between yourself. Then the other question was relating to, yeah, also about your group members. So you have received an email that is indicating who are your group members, plus the emails of your fellow group members. So for this way you of course can reach everyone. On the platform where you post the video, the description of that is on the in the study guide, but I will briefly also check myself and post it.
I can maybe jump in here. Sorry, I'm a little bit late to this meeting. Apologies. So in terms of where you need to send your video, you need to send it to the Cyber School email, which is cyberschool@hcss.nl. And just a little bit to be very clear on this, it needs to be accessible. So of course, if you send us a 50 gigabyte video, via email, it's not going to work. So use something like WeTransfer or a shared drive so that we can download your video, something like this. And then we will upload it on our YouTube channel. So this is just in terms of where you should send the video to before the deadline of the 5th of November. So yeah, just to answer that question that Leonard had. Also, hi everyone. I also actually see that there's some a little bit of confusion maybe in the chat. Remember that this, in terms of the groups, each group is separate, and there is a bit of a competition here. There is only one winner, so make sure that you work in your designated groups to achieve the challenge. I think there is around 18 groups, a little bit less, a little bit more. Can't remember the exact number of groups. But each group should have their own video. So in terms of all collaborating together, as much as it's really nice, make sure that you really work with your groups, which were given in the email that you got. Yeah, exactly like Kamya Gupta is saying. Yeah, so you have your email addresses of all of your team members together. And in terms of like how to create your, how to communicate within your groups, that's very much up to you. So you can use WhatsApp, Telegram, Discord, we've seen in the past as well. All of these are great options. We leave that very much up to you. I don't know if this is, sorry, I'm coming in halfway, so maybe all of these have been answered before, but just to be sure, just to be clear. And also, just remember that this is, in a way, your one and only chance to ask questions to Molière, in terms of for the challenge itself. So really use this opportunity. I see there's only around 5 or 6 minutes left of the session. So I'm sure that's already been lots of great questions. But really use this use this opportunity now before it's gone. Yeah. So just for Kamia, you have to send the email to us. And that is not to UNIDIR. I think if you send it to UNIDIR, that will be lost somewhere and it will never be replied to. You have to send it to the cyberschool@hcss.nl email address. Find this if I'm saying it now, you will find it typed out in the study guide, which is on the IDCSS website. So there you can see the exact email address you need to send it to. The platform, send it to us in any video format. MP4 is probably, the easiest. Just make sure it is accessible. Okay, so we have here a question: is animated video accepted? This is maybe, Molière, something you can maybe answer better. What kind of are you looking for in terms of, this like the type of video? Do you want something quite specific, or are you very open to different formats, I guess?
This is interesting. We did not anticipate this. but I'll say we don't really mind what format it is. We will be focusing more on the substance of it. And so I actually think animated will be interesting to see, but no hard or fast rules there. Just the substance has to be spot on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the past we've had often, the students are very creative in how they send a video. And so you kind of hear, exactly like Molière said, you can be as creative as you want. And that's not what will really be judged on. It's the substance. And I think, everyone, maybe there are some students here who are, wizards at, video editing and things, but, we like, I don't think anybody expects, Hollywood, Bollywood style graphics or anything like this. Or Nollywood, I guess, as well. So yeah, it's about what you have in the videos and not really how the video is presented. But of course, creativity is always appreciated, I think. Deadline and time, the 5th of November. So that is in about 1.5 to 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks, the 5th of November at, I think, the exact time, if I remember correctly, is 4:30 p.m. Indian time. Yeah, so you have just under 2 weeks. So I would say, really go ahead, don't waste time, get together in your groups, discuss how you are going to, divvy up tasks. Are you going to have a group leader or not? Or is it going to be a bit more, everyone working together like that? One important thing, choose someone who is going to be your representative to us. So when, you have a question for us, you don't have 10 people sending the same email. So in that sense, choose somebody who is your representative, and they will be the person who we have the best contact with in each group. So that is one of the first things you will have to do. And they will also be the one who we expect the video from at the, before the deadline at the end. We have a question here, because of course Mini Garios is a fictional country. But we have a question: is it okay to use real-world examples, I guess, to compare Mini Garios to? Or is there restrictions in this sense?
unless they give more information, there wouldn't really be any real value in comparing it to any other state. What is real world and applicable are cybersecurity principles or cybersecurity good practice, what actually happens in the field. That is really what we're looking for here. So in terms of state, they should just stick to the fictional one. But in terms of good practice and what they know has worked elsewhere, they don't have to attribute that particular thing to that state, but they can just take what has worked and make it part of their intervention as a suggestion for our fictional state. So we wouldn't be wanting to hear reference to other states other than this one, unless unless the group says they are providing this capacity building as a country themselves. And even in that case, I would recommend that they don't use any real country names in that, and that they can just say we are a representative of a state, and as a provider of capacity building, this is what we recommend. Same thing if they are a private sector entity, it's enough to just say we are a private sector entity, we provide capacity building, and this is what we propose. Or another creative way, but a variation of that is the minimum that we're looking for.
Amazing. So I see that we're running out of time very quickly, so I think I'll just answer this last question, and then we might do some closing words. So they're just asking in terms of, does each group need to send, multiple videos? No. One group has 10 members. I think there's one or two groups which has 9 members, but let's say, your group 1F, let's say. You work together to create one video. How you you do the teamwork, that is up to you. Maybe 4 of you do research, 3 of you do create a video, and 2 of you do video editing or something else. However you want to figure it out, that is completely up to you. But each group does one video. So if we have 12 groups, we should have 12 videos at the end. So you do not need to create more than one video. So, okay, on that, I'm sure there's been so many questions and a lot of answers. So unfortunately, we have run out of time. Do you, Molly, just have any last words of advice or any last words of encouragement just before we finish?
I think we're looking forward to your inputs. There is a lot of creative liberty on how you put together the video, not so much creative flexibility in terms of what you're suggesting, because you've been part of this, and so you understand what cybersecurity is. And for our challenge specifically, you are advising a country, and so that's a serious and important thing. But otherwise, you've got the resources that you need. The UNIDIR website is available with many other resources that can help you through this. And good luck and have fun.
And I think that's a great way to end it. Having fun is of course really, really important. So thank you all for coming. Also thank you, Moliehe, and Shimona as well. So thank you all. If you do have any questions or anything you're unsure about, check the study guide. All of the answers should be in there. If not, email us, the Cyber School, and we can help you. Don't forget, we have in half an hour the next session, which is the last of the Cyber Resilience game, session 3 with Michel Rademacher. So have a bit of a break, have something to eat, something to drink, a little snack. And we'll all see you in half an hour. Bye-bye, everyone.